Hey guys, before we jump into today's video, I want to bring to your attention that I have a Patreon. It's something that I haven't really been using that whole lot, but because I'm starting to get back into making these videos and things are coming along very nicely, and one of the perks that I just introduced to this is 1 day early access to these videos. So if you would like to support me financially and get a couple of perks along the way, then this is one of those opportunities. Of course, I don't always need your money to continue doing what I'm doing. Just doing all of the usual algorithm stuff is pretty helpful as well. So, liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and watching the entirety of this video as well. That's very helpful. Anyway, with all of that said, let's jump right into the video. I started this YouTube channel many years ago with my first serious attempt being when I first moved back home to my parents' house. Using a bedsheet as a backdrop, I collaborated with a few people and provided little bits of information on various topics related to self-improvement, relationships, health, finance, and of course just plain old personal development. Back then, I didn't really find the voice I have now. I was so focused on just spitting out content without putting in the care or research into it. I wanted to share some good information and be a reliable source for entertainment, even though I wasn't really that great at it. I mean, the videos are still there and you can see them. Not that I'd encourage you to check those ones out. But in the end, I kind of realized that. Between that and the pressure to make content and the lack of discipline, I stopped posting videos. However, one of the deep-rooted fears that I had that got me to stop was probably the fact that my life wasn't so well put together compared to other self-help gurus that I saw on YouTube. It still honestly isn't. Back then, I was worried that people judged me for not having a car, being single, living at my parents' home, and was not in peak physical form. I moved back home to the sheer fact that I couldn't keep going with the sales job I had, and being involved in a network marketing company wasn't exactly sustaining me either, especially when I didn't make any sales at all. At the end of the day, I knew that I wasn't successful by any noticeable metric, and to talk about the things I was trying to position to be an expert on made me feel like a fraud. At that point, my life didn't amount to much. Even now, I'd say I haven't amounted to much of anything beyond writing thousands of articles at this point. That requires a lot of self-discipline and is impressive in its own way, but I'm not a widely recognized writer, nor have I won any awards. And yet, today, I would consider myself a success in some regard, some of it correlating to my writing. But also for the sheer fact that my definition of it has changed, and the few callouts I had during those times where I was so paranoid of being called out shaped how I viewed success and what it means to be successful. And it is this view that I want to be sharing with you today. From an early age, we are told what success looks like. In school, we're given a grade to determine our competence in a subject and how well we can study and memorize information. We are given the distinct impression that companies making millions or billions in revenue are successes. We get the impression someone with a lot of money or material possessions is also a success, especially when these individuals are carrying around products or wearing clothing from luxury brands. We also get these impressions from people with titles or have won awards as well. All kinds of elements that we are exposed to shape our perception of what success is and what it looks like. And we never doubt it or question it. I know this to be true because in the self-help world, those who thrive display this exact image. Those in positions of expertise are those who have already done it before. It makes sense for us to look up to those people compared to someone like me who has just done a lot of research and hasn't amounted to much. But it's through that research and self-understanding over the years that I've come to learn how destructive and generally unhelpful these displays of success can truly be. It's to the point that I'd go as far as this display of success is one of the reasons self-help is messed up right now. Between AI and a low bar of entry, people are able to position themselves similar to what I tried to do so long ago. They're able to talk about things with more confidence on a subject that they do not know anything about or very little about. In fact, they can just tap into the same generic advice and spin it around a little bit in a different way to make it more convincing, fresh, and compelling. This is on top of collaborating with a variety of big influencers in the industry to solidify their credibility. People are able to build up fake versions of themselves that display those characteristics of success that we are looking for. All this really started to hit me when I remembered someone commented years ago about the fact that I didn't have a car and I was talking about life and how to be living it. To this day, I don't have one. But also at the same time, I ask myself, why do I even need one? It's expensive. I live in a location where I'm near most places I want to go to anyway. Maintenance is also a pain in the ass and very expensive in certain circumstances. And if I ever wanted to go to someplace farther, I could bike, I could call a friend or a family member to drive me, or I can call a taxi service. This is on top of requiring myself to be in further debt for something that I honestly would not be using at all. It's what led me to the view I have now of success and why the stereotypical version that we're fed is so bad for us and for the self-help industry as a whole. In order to change, we must first understand there is a problem that needs changing in the first place. From there, we begin to make that change. The problem that we're facing right now is the fact that most people don't think this is a problem worth fighting for. It kind of makes sense with our current capitalist society. Everyone is all scrambling to the top, hoping to climb out of financial ruin. Someone who can offer some way of us getting ahead, financially or otherwise, is therefore more appealing, especially if they can sell their status, fake or real. This is the case of a self-help guru that really started me on this whole journey, Tai Lopez. He's a meme because of his garage video, but simultaneously, he is pushing a particular narrative and displaying it boldly. He has multiple Lamborghinis, tons of books to the point he has bookshelves in his garage, and he's fit. He has all the hallmarks of being a successful individual, and the fact that he's sharing his steps to that same success makes him a saint, even though in reality, his courses suck. Nevertheless, he stirred in me what so many others experience, is the distinction that this individual is a success. They know what they're talking about. They are an authority figure in the industry. They are saying the right things and continue to display a common view of what success looks like. It's to the point that whatever goals you might have or wanted no longer matter. You want that Lamborghini, goddammit. You want the needlessly massive home on Beverly Hills. You want to be living the dream. And it's here where we can see the problem forming. Instead of our own goals and ambitions, they are replaced by visions of grandeur, that we can get more and more and more. We covet what we're seeing right now to the point that we shift our goals to that vision and believe these are our proper goals now. Even though in reality, some of those goals are not realistic or all that feasible in our current positions. And it becomes a slippery slope when we rely on these same gurus who put thoughts into our head like saving up for an expensive car is a good idea, let alone that we deserve that luxury car because we just happen to be one of the many thousands of people tuning in to some random rich dude's webinar or event. This reminds me of something I recently read about luxury brands. Right now in Italy, some of the most widely recognized luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, Giorgio Armani, Prada, and Dior are now under scrutiny by the Italian government. The reason? They believe that for years these companies relocated their factories to Italy while bringing over Chinese migrants to work under brutal, harsh, and insecure environments, all while paying them very little in wages. For some of these luxury brands, they made products as low as $57, only to sell them to their customers for well over $2,000, with the Made in Italy tag still slapped on the product. While I find this amusing as the rich people are getting scammed, it's also really disturbing. For luxury brands, location is everything, and customers presume that they're buying quality products in order to flaunt their success and status. In reality, this recent discovery only shows that rich people are more gullible, that they're not so different from the common folk who have been well indoctrinated into fast fashion, and that the corporations behind all of this are scum lords of the world. In essence, luxury brands just ruined the very reason and integrity their marketing was pushing for decades. Not only that, but this is also the perfect metaphor for success in most situations. In order to get ahead, a lot of the systems that are built on exploiting other people. And I'm seeing a lot of that in the cases of self-help. And it's for this particular reason that it's a problem. However, because of this current narrative that is keeping us in this loop, it's a lot harder to get out of that loop. And it makes sense. Without a doubt, those lofty goals are appealing and make sense to us. Those luxury brands I name dropped just seconds ago are somewhat familiar to people. They immediately think of high quality goods and fashion from those brands. Those sketchy weight loss strategies in magazines at the grocery store do sell from time to time and pull you in. Not to mention, ask anyone off the street if they want $1 million or they want to be a millionaire, and most likely they will be saying yes.
Dunk, final answer. Oh, I meant grand slam.
It's a no-brainer why these strategies work. And they especially work if they are sold in a way where one can obtain these things by following some precise steps that you have made up and presented to people. But as I said, those ideas are unsustainable. In our current system, wealth shifts around, but eventually goes upwards. Tai Lopez continues to grow wealthier the more people buy into his courses. And if he's saving or investing that money, rather than spending it, then he's just building his wealth. There's nothing wrong with that. But as we're seeing already with late-stage capitalism, it can be harder to get more money if people can't afford to pay those prices. And it becomes more problematic if companies or individuals decide to cut corners and exploit people. It warps our perception of success to what a guru presumes what we think success looks like. For example, my view of success at this point is being sustainable in various parts of my life. Financially, that means making $5,000 a month. I'm nowhere near that, but it's realistic for me at this point. That said, when I first got into network marketing, my initial goal was to get to the $50,000 benchmark where I got the car. I wanted that car and the big pay month after month. It's similar to why I studied to be an accountant. I wanted to be pulling six figures by my third or fourth year as a CPA. I wanted to have my student loan paid off in full within that period too. At the end of the day, it makes us stick to a particular definition of success and apply it to ourselves. The reality is, success is far more subjective than we realize. There are various quotes that suggest that success isn't always just sitting on a pile of money or having a certain status. Not to mention, there are people's stories that we celebrate that are clearly not just some rich guy did a thing. Success looks different from person to person, and the issue is merely we're getting addicted to the same definition that is being shoved in our faces by a lot of other rich individuals who have this warped perception of success. And why wouldn't we? The high highs that the self-help gurus or other rich individuals display is a very compelling image, and it can keep us stuck in this loop of what success looks like in this fashion. This destructive loop where you're chasing after a goal that you might not really want.
I reject your reality and I substitute my own.
But the problem with this loop is that when it applies to ourselves, it can be more destructive, and we're chasing after something that isn't realistic for ourselves or is something that we're even capable of doing. And of course, that leads us to being more frustrated, more angry about these certain things, and recoursing that, or we become scumlords ourselves and start exploiting people or being nastier to other people around us. So, what can we do about this? How can we change? To begin, we can't exactly call out these wealthy gurus for any of this. They've made their money, and they don't really care if they lose a fan or not. And they won't really be hurting if we slide into their DMs, send some angry messages to them, or an angry email. They won't care. The only slight pain that they have is there's one less person that they have the ability to dupe now. And it's really not that bad when there are more people who are continuously addicted to this very mindset and are willing to trust these individuals. But what we can do is recognize that behavior and do what I did. And that would be to make some adjustments in our lives. Actually question ourselves whether this is something we truly want and that this is what we want to do. A good example is starting a business or side hustle. There are a multitude of reasons to start one, and people will be quick to offer those. But is it actually practical for you to do so? Because starting a business does take a lot of risk. Maybe not financially for you, but in other aspects of your life that you might not have thought of. If you have kids or a partner, you now have to balance working this business and being a parent and spouse. If you're trying to make this business full-time, that might also mean spending more time at a desk and less exercising and going to the gym and ordering more food. All the same, just because you're fed a particular view of success doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. The goals that are tied to that might not be the things you want to do, especially if those goals are tied to you roping more people that you know into a network marketing scheme to buy more stuff they don't need so that you can profit off of them.
What do you sell?
That are charging hundreds of dollars for something that costs you very little to make. After spending so much time in self-help, success to me looks very different from when I initially started. For sure, it's those high achievements and moments that those gurus display. But the important thing to keep in mind is that's not all success is. It can be defined by people saying you did a great job. It can be some other form of praise or acknowledgement. It can be small, just as it can be massive and grand. And that's what's important, because success is more fluid than the strict definitions that we have for it. And recognizing that can help us be more humble about our achievements and more realistic about our goals. We can be smarter about those goals and our desires as well. We get less wrapped up in the dopamine, which the more I look at self help, the more I realize just how important having less dopamine is good for you. And that's really what it is at the core of it. Success, to me, is just having less dopamine and celebrating the victories, the small moments, and the big moments just as much. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the entirety of this video. Just as another reminder, don't forget to go and subscribe if you haven't done so already to get more updates on future videos, and also to just leave a like. That's fine too. It's wonderful. It's great. It's fantastic. And with that, I'll see you all next time.